Hey everybody, Hoosier Jedi here with another review for you. This time I'm talking episode 10 of season 8 of Dexter called Goodbye Miami. And overall, this is got to be one of the worst offenders in terms of padding I've seen this entire season. I mean seriously, only the last 3 minutes of this episode really feel worthwhile. Now, I mean, Dr. Vogel getting killed like that, okay, did not see that coming. It was a major gut punch, and it's really the spark the show's needed for a while. I mean, this is definitely going to kick off the grand finale in what I think is going to be good style. But otherwise, the rest of this episode is more just sort of shuffling things into place for our eventual big goodbye to everybody. I mean, I imagine we're probably only going to get at most one more scene with Jamie. It's obvious that she's probably going to accept the job, go off to Atlanta and work with kids there, and be really good at it. And it's okay. All right, well let's get into things and talk about our minor characters for the most part. Once again, we're treated to more BS with Masuka and his daughter, which, I mean, I still can't believe they're trying to make hay out of this. And then his daughter has the nerve to get snotty when her dad reprimands her for smelling like marijuana around a bunch of cops. Okay, Nikki, for God's sakes. Tommy Chong, the most hardcore stoner in all of Amsterdam, they would tell you don't reek of weed around a bunch of cops. And it's not just your life that's the situation there. If you're busted for smelling like weed, it's going to reflect extraordinarily poorly on Masuka. It's going to embarrass him in front of all of his friends at the very least, and is potentially damaging to his career. I mean, he's obviously done a lot of finagling to get you this job, and thus you do have a responsibility. I mean, you do have a responsibility if you work for the police to not show up to work smelling like weed. This story kind of had some potential at one point, but now it's just, like I said, it's really the worst offender in terms of padding this season. So Jamie and Quinn broke up as well, and it just kind of proves that everything Quinn touches turns to crap. And of course, he and Deb apparently also get back together, which, we sort of expect being a major jerk to be Quinn's thing. And to be fair, when he broke up with Jamie, he was mostly upfront with her, but he was completely and utterly BSing her about his feelings for Deb not being a part of this. And I love that Jamie saw right through him and was constantly pushing on him to just freaking admit it. And Quinn couldn't do that, which is because Quinn is a freaking dick. There are moments where I occasionally feel kind of bad for Quinn, but just the stupidity and selfishness and general jerkiness of his character has a tendency to always override that in very short order. And look at what we have in this episode. As near as I can tell, literally the next day after he breaks up with Jamie, Quinn's out there making out with Deb. Which does not reflect terribly well on Deb either, because last I checked, maybe she and Jamie weren't exactly friends, but they were at least cool with each other. I mean, wow, Deb, what a crap thing to do to Jamie. And what a crap thing to do to the sister of your boss, who welcomed you back to your old job with open arms. And oh yeah, that Batista's going to have something to say about what's going on with Deb and Quinn when he finds out about that. So, I'm kind of hoping Quinn gets a good old-fashioned punch in the face. Well, another one. He's earned more than one punch in the face over the course of this series, but in my book, it's just not quite enough. Now, this episode otherwise is kind of mostly focused on fleshing out the relationship between Dr. Vogel and her son, Daniel. And it's all pretty obvious that he's just jealous of Dexter. Dexter is what he wished his mother could have done for him. And just Daniel trying to justify having killed his brother, as he even says to Dr. Vogel, it's your fault. Really? It's your fault? You killed your brother because you didn't think your mom was paying enough attention to you? What exactly did your brother do wrong in that equation? I mean, it's just complete and utter self-justification. Yeah, and we've been drawing since we found out about Daniel. I've talked about sort of the parallels between him and Dexter. Dexter is, in a way, the psychopath son that she always wanted. I mean, obviously, Dr. Vogel did not want a son who was a psychopath, but you understand what I'm saying. And that Daniel thinks that she could turn him into this. No. Like, I mean, I really don't even think that he actually wants this. I think this is just another way of him dicking with his mom. And Dexter, even blatantly points this out to her with the whole thing about how it's really obvious that Daniel enjoys killing. He doesn't really want to stop killing. There is no hope for this guy. And not a huge amount to say about Hannah. Just you think that she'd have been a little bit more cautious about going out in public when she knows there's still this big bunch of people searching for her. And you'd think that she'd be a little bit more wary of the whole situation given the way that Nurse was eyeing her. At least, enough that where she might not use Harrison's real name when checking him into the hospital. I mean, for God's sakes, Hannah, if you were right and that nurse really had figured out who you were, and you noticed her giving you the eye, why in the name of God did you do that? I swear, this show sometimes, huh? I certainly enjoyed the scene where Elway gave Deb that big blow off. She's had that coming. I've been complaining how Deb was a real ingrate to Elway for everything that he had done for her for quite a while now. And yeah, guys, honestly, I don't really have that much more for you than that. This is really ultimately a somewhat disappointing episode. Absolutely fantastic last couple of minutes. I mean, we got a great setup for the next two episodes, which I think are going to be really intense. Some more people are going to end up dead besides Oliver Saxon, aka Daniel Vogel, whatever you want to call him. And I'm still going to bank on a somewhat happy ending for all of this. But things are certainly in a position where they could really, really, really blow up in Dexter's face, especially that whole thing with him and Hannah McKay. And, that's also something that could seriously ruin Deb's life forever. So seeing how Dexter's going to get out of this one, one last, how does Dexter get out of this situation? Well, here's hoping it's better than this episode. Until next time, guys, take care and have a good one. And, of course, please comment, rate, and subscribe.